What if adversity wasn't a problem to you? What if it wasn't a problem? What if it was a privilege? And if you think back in your life, again, your biggest growth moments came from your biggest pain moments. And if you look back in your life, you realize, man, I had a privilege to go through that. That adversity builds your purpose, makes you understand your purpose more. I realized looking back on my journey, I wouldn't be here speaking to you right now if I wouldn't have went through adversity 10 years ago. If I wouldn't have went through adversity and losing the greatest thing in my life at that time in my life. So it was a privilege that I went through it, because in me going through it, it built something inside of me called endurance, called emotional resilience. We'll talk about in a little bit. It built these things inside of me to help you or help the world or whoever else is my following be able to get through those things. So I want to shift your perspective right now. I want you to start looking at adversity as a privilege. You get to feel. You get to feel. You know how many people, and this is not to undermine anybody's struggle. Like, I get it. I know it's easier said than done. But do you know how many people would love to have the adversity that you got? Let's shift our perspective here. Even if it's the adversity of finances. You know how many people will want to be in a position to even have that adversity? Some people don't have the privilege to even have it. Or building a business and dealing with the ups and downs. Some people don't have the opportunity to even build a business. So that adversity is a privilege. And I know this is true because I traveled the world and I've seen people that would pray to be in the shoes that I was complaining about. So right now, as I'm speaking to you, I want you to think just for a brief second, say, man, how can I start looking at this as a privilege? By asking yourself a few questions. What is this trying to teach me? What is this actually building inside of me? A year from now, 5 years from now, why am I going to be grateful? Man, I get fired up about this. Why am I going to be grateful that I went through this? Why am I going to be grateful? Let's just sit with that right there. Why are you going to be grateful that you went through this? And maybe you don't have the exact answer, but guess what? As human beings, we can create whatever meaning we want to create that's going to serve our soul. So I want you to shift that perspective towards adversity and realize that adversity can actually be one of the greatest tools to build that greatness inside of you. So I'm looking at it as opportunity now. How can this grow me? How can this teach me? How can this shape me? How can this educate me? Not just for me, but for me to teach other people. And I want to tell you this too. In these moments of adversity, that's why it's very important to get very clear on the meanings that you give life. That's why it's very important to get clear on how you're going to respond. You might have heard me talk about this before, but this is kind of my pillar when I'm in my moments of adversity, right? I always say this, and I'm not going to go through the whole list, but I always say, we can't control what happens to us for the most part, or we're not in. It's a better way to put it. It's less about what happens to me. And it's more about the meanings that I give to it, right? It's more about, and let's just stick on this, it's more about how I respond. And there was a time in my journey that changed everything for me. And I learned this from sports. I mean, as an athlete my whole life, you're going to go through adversity. You're going to go through moments where you're losing. You're going to go through games where you're losing. You're going to go through weeks where you might lose. You might go through a losing streak. And if you're not clear on how you're going to respond before that even happens, you allow that to define your life instead of refine your life. And see, what I want for you right now, I don't want that adversity to define you. I want it to refine your life. And what that means is that I want that to shape something. What was meant to work against you, I want it to work for you. I want it to reshape your confidence, reshape your endurance, reshape your perseverance, reshape your faith because of that adversity. Because of that adversity, I have stronger faith. My hardest times built my strongest faith. If it wasn't for my hardest times, my faith wouldn't be this strong. right? Faith not tested is no faith at all. So bring on the test, baby. Because I'm trying to grow my life. I'm trying to level up. I'm trying to grow this mindset. And I can't grow this mindset without going through growing pains. It's a part of it. I wish that the journey, actually, I don't wish, but I know a lot of us wish that the journey was just smooth sailing, easy waters. But you don't see what your boat is made of until you get in troubled waters. Right? You don't see what you're made of until those storms hit your life. You don't see how strong the foundation is until that tornado comes through and either exposes the foundation or lets you know my foundation is unshakable. So again, some things aren't coming to your life to destroy you, but to expose what's really inside of you. And I know every single one of you listens to my voice. What it's exposing is greatness. What it's exposing, I'm not going to back down. What's exposing is character. What's exposing, I'm resilient. So bring it against me. Bring it on. Because I'm not going to fold in the midst of adversity. I'm going to stand taller. Adversity, I'm going to use it. I'm not going to allow it to use me. So I realize in sports that the teams that win championships, the teams that come back, you see it in the NBA playoffs. You see teams that are down by 13, they come back. It's because they've already determined in their mind when they get down, how they're going to respond. They have made up in their mind how I'm going to respond. So for you, if you haven't, make up in your mind right now how you're going to respond. When challenges come up, I'm going to respond like this. When adversity comes up, I'm not going to look at adversity as a problem. I'm going to look at it as a privilege. I'm going to think about what is this trying to teach me? That's how I'm going to respond. When things are going wrong in my life, I'm going to still respond with greatness. I'm going to stay loyal to my standards. I'm going to stay loyal to my principles. I'm going to stay loyal to my rituals. I'm not going to allow outside circumstances to control. I'm not going to allow outside circumstances to dictate, to control how I show up every single day. How I show up every single day is non-negotiable. Of course, you're a human being. You have your days. I do too. But I'm not going to allow any adversity, any challenge to dictate my actions. I'm showing up regardless. And even if showing up means barely making it, even if showing up means tears in my eyes, but still going, I'm showing up. Because I refuse to become my adversity. I refuse to become my setback. I refuse to become my obstacle. I refuse to become my challenge. I refuse. These things that come against me, I'm going to rise above it. And that's the mindset that you're going to have. So get very clear, my friend, on how you're going to respond to these things. Right now, cement it, because anything that's going to be built that's great will go through great suffering. You will go through great suffering. We hear that word suffering, but we think suffering is such a bad thing. Suffering is beautiful. It's beautiful when it's positive suffering.